This is Joy News. Good evening and welcome to Nightly News with me, Marian Ture. In the headlines this half hour, some fuel stations have resorted to rationing petrol in response to the long queues that are forming at places due to reported shortages. The Binduri District Police have arrested some 45 Mampusis and Kusasis who clashed in Bazwa in the Upper East region. We'll bring you an update. We'll also bring you a special report aired earlier this year about the woes of a childless couple. In showbiz tonight, we will bring you an exclusive interview with Noble Nketia, even as we bid farewell to 2012. And in international news, the body of a young Indian woman who died after being ganged raped on a bus has been cremated in the capital, Delhi. The details of these stories coming up shortly. Please stay on. And to the details of our first story, fuel shortages have hit some parts of the country as some filling stations are rationing what they have in stock to be able to serve as many customers as possible. Drivers have had to roam around town trying to get fuel and even queue up at petrol stations that have some fuel.
Some fuel stations Joy News visited on Sunday did not have petrol to serve their customers. Some stations we visited were virtually empty, with fuel attendants turning away cars that drove in. At the Fraga filling station at Circle, the supervisor told us that they had run out of petrol just this morning and had only diesel available with which to serve customers.
Oh, we don't haul it. If you are hauling, then we will stop selling diesel too. But now we are selling diesel. How can you tell me that we are hauling? We don't have it. It's shortage, general shortage. When you call, they say they will bring it, but I don't know what is going on.
At the Allied Oil filling station, the story was the same, with drivers being turned away. The Total filling station at Abeka told us that they had had petrol in the morning, but had run out of stock in the afternoon. The AP fuel station at Abeka even had a bold inscription that read, "No petrol." At the Goyle filling station at Aveno, we saw a different situation as vehicles had queued to fill their tanks as petrol was available. Some drivers who noticed there was petrol rushed in with their gallons. Even at this station that had enough to serve their customers, drivers were not served with the amount of petrol that they wanted. Some of the drivers shared their frustration with Joy News.
Without fuel, we can't do our business. And now there's no petrol. Yesterday, I heard MPA boss saying there's no shortage. It's not true. It's not true. If you come to the ground, there's shortage on the ground. I went to Kwabrenya, from Kwabrenya down to this place, no fuel. So God so good, when I reached here, then I saw 5 cars here, then I decided to just park. What I want to buy, they didn't give him because they said they are sharing it small. I wanted to buy 35 Ghana, but he said no. So they give me 25. Even that 25, I pleaded.
There are so many filling stations where we quite see petrol. You know, the whole morning machine, the whole area. I mean, honey, maybe I'm a benyebu. Maybe I could be a siasan. We don't know what's going on. So we been a sia on me who said, yeah, to sana ebibisa, no me atiasia. Where's an happy?
In an interview with a manager, he said that they had not yet experienced the shortage, but were rationing what they had in stock in order to serve their customers.
Fortunately, yesterday we had a delivery of 9,000 liters. That's what we are selling right now. The 9,000 might finish today, and we need to serve customers tomorrow. So at least, if anybody can get a tip of the iceberg, they can move to where they want to go till tomorrow. We have orders in the pipeline. So from time to time, they come. I heard on Monday there will be food deliveries.
For now, commercial drivers are calling on authorities to solve the situation as this is affecting their operation.
The Crystal Asafo Mission, also known as the Christ Reformed Church, led by its founder, Apostle Kwadwo Safo, is to set up a multi-purpose assembly plant at Gomwa to aid in the assembling of vehicles manufactured by the Apostle. This is to be completed by March 2013 and was made known at the 32nd Annual Technology Exhibition of the Christ Reformed Church in Accra. The 32nd Technology Exhibition by the Crystal Asafo Mission with the founder, Apostle Kwadwo Safo, on Sunday, saw an outdoor of improved versions of some of his products manufactured in previous years. On display were an improved version of the robot he had manufactured in 2011. Also on display was a locally manufactured armored car with rockets, which patrons and invited dignitaries got thrilled about.
We're expecting a mini assembly plant that will be producing 40 cars a month, and we are going to put the assembly plant on the Gomwa and Pota Road where we have our research site.
And away from that, the ruling NDC is wrapping up 4 years of government. A transition team is in place to ensure smooth handling over, with a new NDC term set to begin on January 7th. Joy News has been interacting with Minister of Environment, Science and Technology, Sherry Aite, on the performance of her ministry for the past 4 years.
Joy News asked the Minister of Environment, Science and Technology, Sherry Aite, what her ministry's major achievements have been. In the area of science and technology, she said her ministry has organized a science congress which awarded Ghana's finest scientists for the first time since Ghana's independence. She said her ministry has been supportive of brilliant but needy mathematics and science students, particularly in rural areas, giving them scholarships to study in tertiary institutions. She outlined a number of bills and policies the Environment, Science and Technology Ministry has initiated to regulate scientific innovations, inflow of genetically modified organisms, nuclear energy, climate change, environmental pollution, land use and agriculture.
We have also passed, the nuclear, authority bill, because once you have a nuclear agency, you have a nuclear reactor, and the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission is supporting, radiotherapy treatment, especially with the telecom industry. We have to regulate, the various telemasts that it's springing up on the landscape. Also, our famous program of 1 laptop per child. Then we have also been able to pass the biosafety bill, that will help us regulate the inflow of genetically modified products. Currently, the approval for the biosafety board is before the president for his endorsement, and then the biosafety secretariat will be commissioned and they will start full work.
According to her, government through the sector ministry is encouraging the use of local raw materials such as bricks in the construction sector. If the ministry is successful in the formulation and implementation of the composite flour policy, Ghanaians may soon enjoy bread or cakes made of flour, which is a mixture of wheat and local materials such as cassava.
We are also looking at the composite flour policy, because we eat bread a lot and we grow lots of cassava, but yet we must create a market for our cassava and reduce the importation of wheat, which we don't grow. I bet you, if you taste a cake or bread, made from composite flour, you will never think that this is a mixture of wheat and maybe local material. We want to encourage Ghanaians to use bricks to fill in the shortage in the housing sector.
Sherry Aite told Joy News the Ghana Space and Technology Center, which was established in May this year, has already chalked some international successes.
We have now been appointed as observers at the United Nations Space Center, and we are working with South Africa on this SK kilometer program, and now we have converted it from a space center into Ghana Space Institute. We trying to give scholarships to young students to do their masters in space technology, satellites, groundings, and we hope that we will build our own stationary satellites.
As an observer, Ghana is observing global space, science, satellite and imagery, but has no voting rights at the moment. She's hopeful Ghana will soon become a full member of the United Nations Space Center. Sherry Aite, however, refused to comment when asked whether she expects to be retained as Minister of Environment, Science and Technology.
And to some news about the MPP lawsuit. The Electoral Commission of Ghana has confirmed it has been served with a copy of the petition filed by the New Patriotic Party challenging the outcome of the December 7th and 8th general elections. The NDC's candidate and incumbent President John Mahama was declared winner by the EC chairman on December 9th, 2012, after he polled 50.70% against the MPP's Nana Akufo-Addo, who secured 47.74% of total votes cast. The MPP is, however, dissatisfied with the outcome of the elections, claiming the president colluded with the EC to manipulate the results. The party joined President Mahama and the commission as first and second defendants, respectively, in the petition filed at the Supreme Court on Friday, December 28, 2012. Chairman of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Kojo Afarijan, confirmed he has been served with the petition filed by the New Patriotic Party at the Supreme Court. Dr. Afarijan said the Commission and himself are preparing their response, adding their legal team is preparing a response to the court for hearing to begin. And to the Upper East region, Mamprosis and Kusasis in Bazwa in the Binduri district of the Upper East region yesterday clashed. The clash reportedly started on Thursday when two people had disagreements. It later extended to Boko, where members of the two ethnic groups attacked each other. Over 45 people have been arrested on suspicion of their connection with the clashes in the Upper East region and have been granted bail. The release was approved after victims of the attack failed to identify any of the arrested persons in an identification parade. The suspects are expected to report to the police on Monday, December 31. Crime officer at the Binduri DSP Adamu Seidu has confirmed. Away from that, the picture that is painted when one hears about schools and the trees is often deprivation. Little wonder government is keen in replacing them with proper structures. Matilda Nakwa Dennis was on a tour of a number of such projects with the Greater Accra Regional Minister and reports schools and the trees sometimes have a few things to show off.
On the day-long trip of inspection and commissioning of several schools in the hinterlands of the Greater Accra region by Regional Minister Nilaye Afotiagbo, about 10 projects were visited in the Shai Osudoku District Assembly. It was interesting to note that although these schools and the trees have raised contentious issues across the country, some live in their own heaven under the thatch and tree classrooms. Take a look at this beautiful wall clock hanging gracefully on the thatch wall. It reads approximately 12:10 and it outshines the wall on which it hangs. And this is the exact time we got to the school. Even though the children sit in this uncomfortable building, their clock equals that of those learning in well-constructed buildings. This beautiful drum was prominently displayed in one of the schools visited, and its presence speaks volumes. Although we are not in the best of buildings, we can boast of one of the best musical instruments. If you thought the school bell no longer exists, just take a look at this old school bell placed on this young child's table. It looks bigger and seems to weigh heavier than her. She looks used to it and she looks away from it to her teacher. As if this is not enough, take a look at this bigger bell. If this bell sounds, your guess is as good as mine. Its thunderous ring will definitely yield results. It was interesting to also observe that in the same classroom of some schools, some children wore different clothing colors. At first, I thought the boys wore blue while the girls wore a different color, but a close observation was that their school uniforms were just different as they sat in the same classrooms. As the construction of some of the buildings are near completion, it was not left unused. This building is temporarily being used to dry red pepper until it is made habitable for the children. And why not? When the Greater Accra Regional Minister entered this classroom, I was impressed by the way they responded to his greeting.
How are you?
Yeah, fine, thank you. And what about you?
I'm also fine. But do you know me?
No, sir.
You don't know me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I want to ask you a question. Who is your regional minister? Who is the regional minister for Greater Accra? Do you know his name?
No, sir.
My name is Honorable Joseph Nilaye Afote Agbo. Honorable Joseph Nilaye Afote Agbo. Clap for yourselves.
And if you think they do not know some political slogans, hear what these children had to say at the Dodowa Presby 2 Basic School. As we went round from school to school, noting these interesting objects and occurrences, I could only come to one conclusion. Some schools and the trees have swag. Matilda Nyakwa Dennis, Joy News.
Of course, if that's all you have, well, just swag it up. Moving on from there, and this one is for the married couples at home. And the question is, what more would you pursue feverishly? Is it happiness? Is it love, peace, wealth, or children? For most couples, children would be their first pick. In the following report, Ya Fosua Jemfi recounts the ordeal of a couple who have been married for 11 years without any children.
For quite 6 years. Not that time, my husband. I said, "You do ovulation, my friend, and I saw free me. Until I have me kakra. Then I mean to me come as some infantry obia."
Pleading for anonymity, they told me about the long hours they spent fasting and praying for a child. They moved from one church to the other and from one hospital to another, hoping for a solution to their predicament.
You worry for any day. Hospital you going in and na esa omusha. Now we see problem bia any no more. Em say the last hospital I call is about em say last year e ko wa Accra. And na omo kan say me kunu problem kakra. Nti no you try omo so try some be we still. Nti omo a me so me ko bia e say menya fibroid na masan ko change hospital for na mako. Oka omo si o no baby e wono. Into me see I want to coin.
You didn't call lab test no more no more low sperm count. The doctor was my hundred. So still
in a society where childlessness can almost pass for a taboo, Equia was not spared the torment women in her situation face. Her in-laws piled pressure on her, nearly collapsing her marriage.
Nipa no mama pressure I massy. Onena now, especially Christmas, o command gift here. And I check near the but say baby dey na okay nyina me minim say problem na nya me ne fimi. Ana me so mi ntimi nko kan kire ne say e wo ba no. Go do baby ana e din say bi nyame a ke bi abeka se bi a obegyae aware no mpo. But ntumi so nya aware because of this. Abra also so nyame.
But when the truth finally emerged that her husband, Kweku, was rather the infertile spouse, it did not absolve the couple of social pressure and scorn.
My wife, Madame Fubi, was soon channel
midwife a senior officer na osusun chance so obenya doctor bi mana boy na nti nature no who my wife sick no be say no excuse me say only former boyfriend bi o man ko botumi aye bibi nti anyen de no osusun chance so don't forget no woman e kan no nso echi no one ne namfo di my wife ho fell.
One Saturday be that sorry na me message e wo me phone so nti me tracy app na ye obi na text me message prostitute you cook for people's husband to snatch them until remain barren. If I me share me yam shame na me say when na text message ma me in fact na din me sunya na me husband so be dey me come and to me na me say be find out your text that message no ma me obi omumu a ono ben me na nka me nim say obetimi aboa me wo mpaibu mu no ono mum ana ode awo ebesere me in fact na areho bibre.
But why should couples in the Ghanaian or African context endure so much scorn from family and friends simply because of their inability to produce children? Head of the Sociology Department of the University of Ghana, Dr. Dan Bright Jogbo explains.
In Africa in general, we cherish children, and this is because they are the resources that we depend on for old age. And we expect that every normal person should get married, have children. And then these children, first of all, from the societal point of view, they are the ones that will replenish the society. They'll replenish the group at the local level or the lineage level. And then society also, therefore, expects that we all get married, have children, so that the children will take after our roles in the future.
Like Ikuya, society is often quick to accuse women of infertility in childless marriages when the reverse could be true. This, Dr. Jobo says, is because men are highly revered in African society.
When we marry, we expect that women will give us children. And if they don't give, they are not, the men don't blame themselves. It's like they are fulfilling their bargain of the marriage. Traditional times, a woman's social standing in a community is measured by the number of children she has. So the more children you have, the more you are considered a proper woman, you see. So this is why society treats them so negatively.
Dr. Jobo says society must come to terms with the fact that most of these situations are inevitable. But in spite of the mockery, Ekuya and Kweku say they are not considering an adoption yet. They are hopeful their situation will experience a turnaround soon.
Vodafone Ghana has reacted to a group of its fixed broadband customers who have been agitating for days over the recent capping of fixed broadband packages. The company said in a statement that lots of those complaining are customers who pay for home consumption but use the unlimited data access to run internet cafes and business centers from which they generate income.
Vodafone said in the statement the practice is unfair to other customers who consume way less, and the capping system was therefore introduced to ensure fairness in the system and to enable customers choose packages that suit their respective lifestyles. It also noted that its data packages are the best on the market in terms of value for money. Meanwhile, the company said it would meet with the agitating customers after the Christmas festivities and explain the issues better. The statement is as follows. Historically, business customers and internet cafe owners using fixed broadband services subscribe to our residential bundles, which were specifically designed for home use. An internet cafe owner can download 750 GB of data a month, which translates into the download of over 1,000 movies a month. Business and internet cafe owners were accessing this bandwidth at the same price as a majority of our home users, whose average data consumption was only 7 GB a month. This distribution of bandwidth was unfair to the home user, as it degrades their internet experience. We have now introduced a fixed broadband package which offers an unlimited fixed broadband service specifically designed for the high data consumption for these businesses. The conflict arises when the internet cafe users insist on continuing to pay the same rate as the home users while generating revenue from their use. Our fixed broadband packages still offer unbeatable value in Ghana, and our consumers can continue to choose from a range of bundles to suit their lifestyle. The fact is that all broadband services are subject to fair usage for the value that is on offer.
And in international news, U.S. President Barack Obama has increased pressure on Republicans to accept a deal aimed at stopping the country going over a fiscal cliffhanger. Mr. Obama was speaking on NBC's Meet the Press. He said the overriding unifying theme of the Republicans appeared to be protecting tax breaks for the wealthy.
Congress must reach a deal by the end of the year to avert steep spending cuts and tax rises due to take effect. If they fail, taxes will significantly rise for most Americans. This has raised fears of reduced consumer spending, triggering a U.S. economic slowdown, which in turn will damage the global economy. Republicans and Democrats tried to resolve the looming crisis in 2011 but failed, instead signing temporary agreements which postponed the deadlock until the end of 2012. Democratic Senate leader Harry Reid and his Republican counterpart Mitch McConnell have been locked in negotiations over the weekend in an otherwise closed-down Capitol. The Senate could then vote on the measure and allow the House of Representatives enough time on Monday to consider it. In an interview recorded on Friday and broadcast on Sunday, Obama said the priority before them was to ensure taxes will not rise for middle-class families, saying that will hurt our economy badly.
Number one, we're going to see an agreement in the next 48 hours, in which case middle-class taxes will not go up. If that doesn't happen, then Democrats in the Senate will put a bill on the floor of the Senate, and Republicans will have to decide if they're going to block it, which will mean that middle-class taxes do go up. I don't think they would want to do that politically, but they may end up doing it. And if all else fails, if Republicans do in fact decide to block it, so that taxes on middle-class families do in fact go up on January 1st, then we'll come back with a new Congress on January 4th, and the first bill that will be introduced on the floor will be to cut taxes on middle-class families.
Republican and Democratic leaders remain divided over core ideological issues about tax and government funding.
Elsewhere in Africa, the head of the African Union is due to arrive in the Central African Republic for talks as rebel forces continue to advance towards the capital, Bangui. The AU says Thomas Yayi Boni will discuss the crisis with President Francois Bozize.
Expected to try to persuade President Bozize to launch a dialogue with the rebels. More troops from the Central African Multinational Force, FORMAC, arrived in the Central African Republic on Saturday to reinforce a contingent already there. More than 100 French paratroopers have also been sent in. However, France insists they are only there to secure its nationals, not to save the regime. A senior UN official told the BBC that its entire national staff have been evacuated to neighboring Cameroon. The US has also evacuated its embassy in Bangui. Government troops and Chadian soldiers deployed as a buffer force had left their position hours before, and a rebel spokesman said they took over the city because it was abandoned.
A young Indian woman who died after being gang-raped on a bus has been cremated in the capital, Delhi. The ceremony came hours after a plane chartered by the Indian government brought her body back to the city. And in showbiz, it has become a norm for most celebrities to come up with either a foundation or clothing line. But this one has decided to do both. Showbiz met up with Noble Inketia over the weekend and has come up with this.
Celebrities, as part of their singing and acting career, have other things to do to keep them busy and also to give back to society. Some celebrities who have gotten their hands full include John Dumelo, Nadia Buhari, Jackie Appiah, just to mention a few. Noble Nkatia has a foundation and a clothing line to be launched later next year.
Personally, I love fashion, and I had lived with an uncle who do fashion, and I learned that from him. I felt like I had to use, I have that gift and or talent, and I can use that for Mr. So.
Noble Nkatia, who has been out of the music scene for some time now, has promised a comeback in the next year.
This new year, I'm bringing my new album. We have like Worthy Is Your Name, like Makoma Shema, like We Can Say, like Most High God, like, and I also have another track for the street, for the children again, and more of them, but for your guys, lovely songs, most inspiring, touching songs.
With his 11 years experience in music, Noble Nkatia writes music the way he thinks it should go. He does cool and soul music, but sometimes does contemporary.
And this is where we draw the curtains for tonight's news. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com or multitvworld.com/news. Today, as we all know, is December 30th. I may not see you again until the new year. So it is a Happy New Year from me, and may 2013 be the best year yet for all of us. Have a good night.